Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I have with me the Ricoh GR IIIX, and I want to share my experience using this camera for street photography. Let's do this! Before we dive in, here are some important disclaimers. This Ricoh GR IIIX is not mine. It is borrowed from my friend Mati Sulanto. Thank you so much, Mati, for lending me this camera. It was such a joy using it for street photography. Obviously, I have no connection or affiliation to Ricoh or Pentax, and this video is not a review of this GR IIIX. I'm merely sharing my experience using this camera for street photography. It has somewhat gained a cult following, and I just want to see what it's all about. After all, there are already so many reviews out there available. There's nothing new I can add if I were to do a full review going through every single feature or capabilities of this camera. So I just want to have fun shooting with the Ricoh GR IIIX and share a lot of street photographs. So what is a Ricoh GR IIIX and why is it so popular among street photographers? Well, it is so small, so compact and light in construction. Yet, it houses a large APS-C-size image sensor which has amazing resolution, dynamic range and high ISO performance. The camera has a fixed focal length lens which is equivalent to 14mm that sits right in between 35 and 50mm, both very popular for street photographers. I've shared my love and hate relationship on this 14mm perspective. I'll put the link to the video up here. Please check it out if you want to find out more about my thoughts on this lens for street photography. Now, I've brought this camera to Malacca, which is about 2 hours drive out of Kuala Lumpur, and I was with my friend Mati Sulanto. We had a lot of good food and we did some shutter therapy. Here are some photographs from that trip. After shooting with this Ricoh GR IIIX for several days doing street photography, I must say that there are more likes than dislikes. I truly appreciate the very slim form factor of this camera. I can slide it into my pocket easily, and that's a huge bonus. I've said before that there are some smaller micro four thirds cameras out there which are smaller than this Ricoh GR IIIX, but if you attach any lens, even the smallest micro four thirds lenses, this camera and lens combination would still be thicker and not so easy or pocketable as this Ricoh GR IIIX. And I believe that truly embodies what a street photography camera should be, because you need to carry your camera everywhere with you. After all, the best moments are unpredictable, and the best way to prepare for that is to have your camera ready with you when that moment happens. What better way than to have the camera in your pocket, right? And I really love the handling of this camera. Surprisingly, it's really good despite its small size, because the camera is very light. Holding it for a long duration of time, I didn't feel any strain on my fingers or wrist or any parts of my arm or body. It was such a joy to handle this camera. I think it's thanks to this slight bump at the side with really textured grip. The hand gripping area is quite beefy and it is just so easy to use. Now, I've shot using this GR IIIX on the streets, walking for more than 20 kilometers in a day with my friend Mati Sulanto in Malacca. That is a lot of walk, right? And I was still very comfortable using the camera, no issue whatsoever. The build quality is excellent. It does feel really premium. It is very solidly constructed. It feels really reassuring in hand. When it comes to image quality, I was really impressed by what this Ricoh GR IIIX can do. The 40mm equivalent lens, it resolves plenty of fine details, really good contrast. The images look lifelike, they are all sharp, they look really pleasing, and I believe the 40mm equivalent lens, it is a very capable lens. Despite its small size on this compact body, the technical flow controls are very well managed. I don't see any serious issues with distortion or chromatic aberration or any other problems, and that's truly impressive. Now, I also like the dynamic range from this large size APS-C image sensor. It is quite easy to balance the highlight and shadow area, especially shooting in really harsh conditions. The colors from this camera is also excellent. I like the lifelike kind of look, very close to reality, and the colors are not being oversaturated, and it generally renders very, very pleasing looking skin tones. There are people cutting grass nearby, and there's the leaf blowing machine noise, and I hope that the noise doesn't affect the audio too much. But hey, the shoot must go on, and it is also a good way to test this microphone to see how well it isolates my voice from the background noise. Anyways, coming back to this Ricoh GR IIIX camera. Obviously, it's not a perfect camera. There are some things that I don't like about this camera. I wish it could have been improved, and I did run into some issues using this camera for street photography. Number one, dust on sensors. No, I don't get it. This is a non-interchangeable lens camera. You can't remove the lens. The image sensor is not exposed to the external elements, so I don't understand how the dust get into the sensor, and it can be really annoying if you shoot against a plain background, say the sky, with narrow apertures like f8, f11. You can see these dust spots. Obviously, it's not a deal breaker. It can be easily fixed in post. I'm just saying it is annoying and should not have happened in the first place. Number two, auto white balance problems. Shooting in artificial light, this camera tends to overcompensate for the warmth and creates really bluish looking skin tone, and I just find this really troublesome because I have to fix this every single time. Again, it's not a big problem because I shoot in RAW. I can easily correct my white balance by compensating the color temperature, so it's not a big issue. It is just annoying. I just wish the auto white balance is a little bit better in this camera. Now, number three, image stabilization. Having image stabilization in this Ricoh GR IIIX is like not having image stabilization at all. There's no difference. I shot at 1/10 of a second, 1/5 of a second shutter speed, expecting sharp images, but the images came out looking blur or not 100% tag sharp. And I find myself shooting about 1/40th of a second at the minimum. Hey, that's like not having image stabilization at all. Of course, knowing that Olympus, Panasonic, Sony, everyone else is doing amazing things with the image stabilization, and you know, using this camera for street photography, you don't want to carry a tripod with you. Having a powerful image stabilization is important. I wish it could have been improved. Now, the first three complaints, the white balance, the dust, the image stabilization, these may not be deal breakers. These are small problems. You can still use this camera in most situations to get fantastic results. But my fourth complaint, number four, unreliable autofocus, is a deal breaker for me. Now, how do I judge autofocus performance for street photography? I see something happening, I point the camera at it, I make sure that focusing box or focusing point is on my subject, I click the shutter button immediately, and I expect the camera to respond instantaneously and get me that shot. This is not the case with this Ricoh GR IIIX. It has a high failure rate, and I've missed a lot of critical moments using this shooting street photography. I use the same method with Olympus, with Nikon, with Canon, with Panasonic, with Sony, with Fuji, and they all give me really high hit rates and success chance at varying degree. The worst will be the Olympus EP1, which was like the first micro four thirds camera. The autofocus is really unreliable. But even then, I have higher chance of success using the Olympus EP1 versus this Ricoh GR IIIX. Now don't get me wrong, the autofocus is generally very fast in good lighting. Of course, in low light situations, the autofocus reliability drops, the speed drops, it hunts. But let's not talk about low light, let's talk about good light. In perfectly good lighting conditions, this camera can still miss focus for these critical moments, and that to me is unacceptable. Now I know some people will say, you know, the camera comes with Snapfocus. It's exactly for this particular situation. Anything 1 meter or more away to infinity, if you use the Snapfocus, you can just click without having autofocus. You don't miss moment, blah, blah, blah. But hey, I have an f2.8 lens and I like my bokeh. Don't take that away from me. You do your Snapfocus, I do my autofocus, and I expect the camera to perform. The Snapfocus should not be a poor excuse for lousy autofocus. Overall, I think this Ricoh GR IIIX is almost the perfect camera for street photography. It has a really versatile focal length, 40mm works. The lens, the optical design is really good. I like the image quality coming out from this camera. It is truly pocketable. It is such a joy to use. It was so unfortunate that autofocus did not live up to my expectations. I wish autofocus is improved in the future generations, and it truly has the same level of autofocus with Olympus, Canon or Sony. Then I can say this is the machine for street photographers. That's all I have to share about my experience using this Ricoh GR IIIX for street photography. Do you agree with my findings, or have you used one before? Do you own one? Please share your thoughts and experience in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you have enjoyed this video, if you like looking at my photographs, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal, links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way. It'll definitely help me to continue making more videos and publish them right here. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment, share and subscribe. I'll definitely see you again in the next one. Until then, please go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.